In a world cloaked in shadows, where the inexplicable lurks just beyond perception, Dr. Roshan found himself entangled in a tapestry of dread. Appointed by the government, he arrived in the desolate village of Gangapur in Uttar Pradesh, unaware that he was stepping into a nightmare that would claw at the very fabric of his beliefs. For days, the villagers had succumbed to a madness that gnawed at their sanity, with some even drifting into the eternal abyss of death, weakened by an unseen force. The moment Roshan set foot in the village, he was thrust into the chaos. A patient lay before him, a wretched soul ensnared by a ghastly affliction. The sight struck him like a thunderbolt. The man's skin bore grotesque wounds, deep furrows as if some dark entity had raked its talons across him. The pallor of his complexion had morphed into a sickly blue, while his veins pulsed grotesquely, bulging like snakes ready to burst forth from beneath his flesh. A chill slithered down Roshan's spine. He had encountered many maladies in his career, but this was something far more sinister, an enigma that defied reason. Confronted by the village chief, Roshan listened in disbelief as the man spun a tale steeped in ancient lore. "This is no mere illness," the chief intoned, his voice quaking with a blend of reverence and terror. "It is a curse unleashed by the wrath of the goddess." The chief recounted the tale of construction, workers tasked with renovating the goddess's temple, a sacred site now shrouded in neglect. The temple, once a beacon of devotion, had been sealed, forbidding even the priest from entering. In the eyes of the villagers, the goddess demanded blood, a sacrifice to appease her fury. Without offerings, she unleashed her vengeance, her spirit weaving through the air like a predator stalking its prey. As the chief's words echoed ominously in his mind, Roshan felt a wave of skepticism wash over him. He was a man of science, a believer in progress and reason, dismissing the chief's claims as mere folklore. Yet the more he delved into the history of Gangapur, the more his skepticism began to waver, replaced by an unsettling sense of foreboding. One fateful day, as twilight draped its shroud over the village, Roshan meandered past the forsaken temple. An eerie silence enveloped him, the air thick with a palpable tension. There, nestled against the gnarled roots of an ancient tree, sat a mysterious old woman, her eyes glinting with an otherworldly light. Her presence was unsettling, as if she were a harbinger of doom, connected to the very essence of the village's plight. With a voice that cracked like dry leaves, she spoke, her words weaving a spell of dread. "You seek to understand, Doctor, but some truths are best left buried. The goddess is hungry, and she will not be satisfied until her demand is met." Her gaze pierced through him, unraveling the threads of his rationality, leaving him trembling on the precipice of terror. In that moment, Dr. Roshan's world spiraled into a vortex of horror. The village's desperate whispers filled his ears, the air thick with the scent of blood, an offering long withheld. As he stood at the crossroads of reason and superstition, the weight of the villagers' suffering bore down upon him like a shroud. The goddess's curse loomed large, a shadow that threatened to engulf them all, and he could no longer ignore the chilling reality that perhaps, in this world steeped in darkness, faith and fear were intertwined in ways he could never have imagined. The night had draped its heavy cloak over Gangapur, and the air shimmered with a palpable tension, thick enough to choke on. Dr. Roshan, his mind swirling with the village's dark tales, ventured forth into the oppressive shadows. As he passed the ancient tree where the old woman had sat, she suddenly materialized before him, a ghostly figure with wild, unkempt hair cascading like a curtain of despair across her face. Her eyes, wild and unfocused, bore the weight of unspoken horrors. "Go to the Rukmini temple, come back." "Don't go to the Rukmini temple," she muttered in a frantic rhythm, a mantra of madness that sent shivers spiraling through Roshan's spine. Before he could respond, she crumpled to the ground, her body writhing uncontrollably in a fit, as if the very earth beneath her was rebelling against her presence. Startled, Roshan stepped back, grappling with the surreal scene. A nearby man, witnessing the chaos, hurriedly shooed the old woman away and turned to Roshan, his voice low and conspiratorial. "Rukmini," he whispered, the name hanging in the air like a death knell. 2 years past, this woman's daughter had stumbled into the goddess's temple, and since that fateful day, Rukmini had returned a changed soul, cursed by something unfathomable. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of her descent into madness, eating dirt, chewing on insects, defiling the village well with her blood. The tale twisted through Roshan's mind, each word tightening the grip of dread around his heart. Rukmini had vanished, swallowed by the darkness, and her mother, unable to bear the weight of her loss, had succumbed to her own madness. Now the old woman roamed the village, a spectre haunted by the loss of her child, her episodes a grim reminder of the curse that had gripped Gangapur. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of despair, Roshan lay awake, thoughts of Rukmini swirling in his mind like a tempest. Sleep eluded him, but then came a sound, a rhythmic drip. Drip, drip, echoing through the silence. He awoke with a jolt, heart racing, and looked up to see dark crimson droplets falling from the ceiling fan. It wasn't water. It was blood pooling ominously around him, and the floor was marked with footprints, footprints leading into the night. Compelled by terror and a morbid curiosity, Roshan followed those tracks outside, where the night cloaked him in its chilling embrace. There, sitting on the ground, was a girl no more than 16, her body a grotesque mockery of life. She devoured dirt and insects, veins bulging as if they might burst, her face a ghastly shade of blue, marred by the same strange markings he had seen on the afflicted villagers. Before he could process the horror before him, the girl suddenly rose, moving with a disjointed grace that was utterly unsettling. In an instant she lunged, her hands closing around his throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground. Panic surged through him as her eyes rolled back, revealing only the milky white of her sclera. She convulsed, releasing him as she collapsed, and Roshan crumpled to the ground, gasping for air. When he managed to regain composure, he rushed to her side, but fear gripped him anew. She was lifeless. Without hesitation, he transported her to the hospital, urgency propelling him forward. The truth that awaited him there was a chilling revelation. Rukmini had not merely been afflicted, she had been dead for days. The weight of that knowledge crashed down on him like a wave, and as he returned home, a deep unease settled within him. The blood, the footprints, they had vanished without a trace, leaving only the echoes of a nightmare behind. Roshan's heart raced with unanswered questions, his mind a battleground of disbelief and terror. How could Rukmini, a spirit long departed, have appeared to him? Was there truly a curse cast upon the village, or had he merely succumbed to the madness that gripped Gangapur? Those questions haunted him as he packed his belongings, leaving the village behind. Yet the spectre of Rukmini lingered in the recesses of his mind. As he drove away, the shadows of Gangapur faded into the distance, but the horror of what transpired remained etched in his memory, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved. In the silence of the night, he could almost hear the whispers of the villagers, reverberating through the darkness, urging him to remember, to believe in the curses that weave their way into the fabric of reality.